stay up with. Thank you. So welcome everyone to the spring prep call for our coach training starting next week. Pleasure to be here. I'm Deanne Adamson. I'm the founder and CEO of Being True to You. I started the company 15 years ago now, in 2010, and then I started the coach training in 2013. So we're going into our 11th year running the training. I was a mental health counselor before I got into this work. As a counselor, I felt unsatisfied, I guess, in the medical model and the diagnostic model. Pathologizing what I saw was just the human experience. And so I did not know what I was going to do after over a decade of training as a mental health counselor and then taking position there. I thought, And then one day I realized there was such thing as coaching, and I thought, what is coaching? I thought, this is so cool. I thought, okay, this is a way I can still help people. I can apply all of my skill sets and my knowledge, but I could do it in a way where I could almost blaze my own trail, so to speak. So not having any idea how to run a business, I literally took 2 business classes in college and dropped out of both of them and my marketing class. So business and marketing was not my thing, but I was really passionate. I wanted to help. I wanted to make a difference, and I wanted to do it in a way where we were not pathologizing clients and we were not medicating them. I really thought there's got to be a way that we can transform ourselves and elevate beyond states of suffering without being medicated. So I started the coaching business, and right after I started Being True to You coaching, I met the ibogaine industry or the ibogaine community down in Mexico, and I thought, this is really strange. I had done some psychedelics when I was younger recreationally, but I never thought of them as therapeutic experiences. And nonetheless, I went down to Mexico and I watched what was happening down there, and I saw people were going through a detoxification process and coming out the other side in 24 hours, back to a refreshed state, back to their true self. And I just couldn't believe what I was seeing, and neither could they believe it. And so I thought, okay, I have a business here and I don't have a lot of clients. I'll start coaching you guys after you come out of this experience. And so that's what I did. I started coaching people after their ibogaine detox, men, women of all different ages. I saw how big the addiction problem was in the country because there was people of all different kinds from every level of society and every profession that were addicted to their pain meds, and that led them to developing a whole slew of addictions, some of them, off the street and some of them off pharmaceutical medications. But mostly what I saw through the ibogaine process was that there was powerful entheogenic experiences that were turning the medical model on its head. It was showing that some of these things that we thought were chronic and we couldn't elevate ourselves beyond them, in fact, we could elevate ourselves beyond them, whether it was depression, chronic pain, insomnia, obsessive compulsiveness, addictions. And it was happening so quickly where people were just breaking free of it, but then there wasn't any kind of preparation and integration system in place for that. So I developed an aftercare program for ibogaine, and then eventually that became before and aftercare. I realized the very important nature of preparation, and that's what we'll be talking about today. And then we started working with a lot of different psychedelic clinics and recovery programs all around the country and in many different continents, actually. So we got to see the power of psychedelic medicines, the power of different transformational tools, the power of what happens when a client works on themselves, when we're not outsourcing our hardships and suffering and our issues to something else, but we're saying, okay, what can I do to improve the circumstances of my life? And as I worked in this model of transformational coaching and preparing people for major change and then helping them integrate after these big transformational experiences, what I saw was that coaching itself was the perfect parallel to the process of transforming ourselves through suffering and addiction. And that's because coaching, you're not doing the work for clients. You're not healing them. You're actually holding them accountable to do their own work. So we're guiding an individual in a very objective, very sovereign way. We're guiding them to identify what's going on in their mind, body, and life, and how can they change? What can they change in their life, and how can they refine themselves to get a better outcome? And by doing that incrementally, what we saw was that people's outcomes were improving and their issues were decreasing. And coaching was just the perfect model for it. And, 15 years later, I have become more and more passionate about coaching and keeping coaching as an active profession in the United States and in North America and wherever, because I believe that there should be a organic movement and a sovereign body of human services where people can help people and people can develop that process of helping into a business where you can take the time to train and learn and develop your skills and actually set up a practice at home and put all your energy into it, which means you got to make a living off of it, right? Like, we're always helping our friends, we're helping people in the community. A lot of us have done different volunteer and pro bono work, and so we're always giving, and that's important. But when you're going to put all of your energy into training and building a practice and learning and developing models and refining your ability to help people and just having the patience to sit with somebody week after week and month after month through their transformational process, a healthy exchange is really needed. And so I love coaching for so many reasons. One, because it mimics the process of change that anybody must go through in order to get the results that they need, regardless of the treatment, the tool, the therapy. It doesn't really matter. A person still has to do their own work. Like, there's nothing that just fixes people without them doing anything. When you look at it as a whole. And I also like it because you can make a living off of it. You can start your own business and you can get very niche with it as well. And that's what you're going to see through our program, is that we don't have cookie cutter coaches. Not everybody that comes in is the same, and everyone that comes out is not the same. Everyone is very different. Who you are, what you're passionate about, the experiences that you have been through, your unique training, your career background, the people that would be attracted to you. It's going to be different for everyone. And I love that about coaching as well, because you can really develop your brand, your niche uniquely to serve the audience that is best suited for you in the way that they need. So there's a lot of creativity, there's a lot of innovation in it, and it just really keeps us on our toes. When I was a counselor, I felt like it was a lot more cookie cutter and everything was just handed to you. Like, here's your textbook, here's your diagnostic statistic manual, here's the psychotherapies that you use, here's the paperwork that you're going to do. And it just kind of felt like, okay, I just follow the rules, follow the rules. And there is a element of that is soothing in a job. Sometimes you just don't have to think and you're just like, okay, I just run through the motions every day and I get my paycheck. And there's something about that feels good. And not to diminish, counseling, but that was just my experience, was that it was more cookie cutter. And when I became a coach, I was like, this is fun, right? Because you can go in so many directions. You can create, you can do it online, you can do it in person, you can work with individuals, you can work with groups, you can work with teenagers, you can work with families, couples, you can work with people of any generation. You can create all kinds of different coaching products. I mean, really, that's where you're going to be able to scale your coaching business. Initially, people will start doing coaching sessions, but eventually you can get to where you're leading online workshops, you're doing seminars, you're doing in-person events in your hometown or somewhere where your people are coming in and sitting with you for a weekend or a week. You could do campouts. We've done those. You can publish books. You can create video channels. You could do, I mean, the sky's the limit with coaching. So it's really fun. It's a very creative process. And it's a process that's also going to strip us bare down to our core. This training will do it. The psychedelic world will do it. And this whole process of being a coach is definitely going to do it, because as we're helping guide people through the hardest times in life, there's a lot of hardship that people face and challenges. And even when people are ready to level up and they think, okay, my life is good, but I just want to be all I can be and I want to see what this life has to hold, then they're going to start developing and opening up more challenges there. So when you're supporting people through some of the toughest and most challenging moments in their life, it's going to mirror things right back to you as well. And when that happens, it can catch us off guard, because it can really open up pockets of trauma, pockets of attachment, addiction, obsession, unresolved grief, depressiveness. pain, you name it. So that's why we want to do the prep call today. We just want to get everybody ready for this journey. We realized a few years ago that taking people through the Being True to You coach training is bigger than a psychedelic experience. And if we're preparing people for these psychedelic experiences, we certainly should be preparing people for our journey. And that's the reason why, is because we're going to go through the phenomenon of addiction, and we're going to go through the phenomenon of suffering, and we're going to look at suffering on many different levels. And as we do that, we're all going to see ourselves in some of these characteristics. And some of them we're like, yeah, I know. I've been working on this for a long time. And some of these chapters are going to reveal blind spots that we hadn't seen, that we weren't aware of. And in that it can be quite moving on a depth level. So we want to make sure that we are as prepared as possible for this experience. So today, what we'll do is we'll go over the significance of preparation, and we'll go over some tips on how to prepare, and we'll also just take everyone through an exercise on setting intentions and getting clear on why you chose this training, what you're hoping to get out of it, what's going to drive you through this process. So we'll talk about preparation, we'll talk about intentions, and in that I can give some tips, and we'll try to save time at the end for Q&A. If you have any questions along the way, I've got a couple team members here. I see Margaret, Jen, and I think I saw Trista somewhere. So there's a few team members on here. So as I'm talking, feel free to drop your questions in the chat box and they can answer them, or just come off microphone and speak up. How many people on video, I can see you, have been in Zoom calls and you're familiar with how the process works? Or is it, at this point, like everyone's pretty accustomed to it? That's great. It's really great. So thanks everyone for being on mute. In all of our classes, we will always have everyone on mute just to keep a really clear line. It's always good to double check that. Sometimes when you first jump on, people are on a phone call or something, they're not on mute, and it takes a long time to get their attention. So be careful on mute. And then you can always raise your hand. I think in most of the groups, you don't have to. In our community, you can just kind of like come off as well. I don't know, maybe different instructors are different. We like to use the chat box. We just like to have as much engagement with you as we can. So we do encourage you to always be off video. And in fact, on video. In fact, we mandated in our lectures and our workshops so that everyone is participatory, but we know that sometimes you're driving or taking care of kids, or you got a lot going on in the background. And so we understand there's times you have to turn the video off. That's what's so nice about Zoom. So we don't want to lose the perks completely. And just all the general stuff when we're in groups of respecting each other. And also something I'll be talking about in the orientation next week, probably a little bit more, is that we want to figure out our hot spots and our sensitive spots through this training. It's better that we hit those walls and those sensitivities when we're training and we're in a protective group like this, where we're all getting to know each other and getting vulnerable with each other. It's better for us to do it on the back end than if you're leading a class with 10 or more clients, or you're live on a podcast, or you're deep in session with a client and they bump up against something very sensitive, and all of a sudden you find yourself in tears or anger, or you're fight or flight. And then you're like, oh, what do I do? I'm live right now. So just know that that can happen in these calls as well. Someone says something, does something, and you're like, oh, that felt offensive, or that totally hit me the wrong way. That's what we're training for. We're really training ourselves to strengthen those areas to where nothing can move us. To be a good coach and to go out into the public and be a supporter, the more unmoved we can become by things, the better. The more sturdy that we are, the more people are going to trust you and us if us as instructors just had a meltdown or started crying or something, you would not trust us. You'd be like, who are these people? And so that's what we're doing here, is that we want to get to a point where nothing moves us. It doesn't matter what people say. It doesn't matter if they said something outright offensive. We're just like, yeah, it doesn't move us. And you're going to notice that with your instructors, just very tempered and very professional and just very advanced. This point, I think the instructors have surpassed me, and they will be the ones leading the training this semester, and I'll just be popping in here and there for my own workshop. And I'll be here with you guys next week too. But anyway, I guess just to say that if you ever get moved, our policy and our teaching at Being True to You is just look within and see, like, what moved me, what got me off kilter there, what what affected me. And then we can sometimes talk about it openly, or we can talk about it on the side and just start to process those things, because we live in a time in society where people get really moved easily. And as a coach, as a professional, we have to tighten up our field to where these things don't affect us. And keep in mind too that when something does affect you, usually there's something there, right? There's something there. There's an attachment, there's a fear, there's a resentment, there's something there that we could work through. Okay, let's see. I think I introduced myself. I am the author of the training. The training is 30 lectures. If you were to print out all the handouts, it's over 800 pages. I actually have it right here. We don't print these out because they're like so expensive. But this is like the training you're about to go through. So it's 3 parts, so you have part 1, part 2, and part 3, and the handouts equate to this much. So it's a lot. I'm the author of the training. What's unique about the training is that I wrote it not from academia or from like textbooks, or I wrote it from direct experience. So as we were helping hundreds and then thousands of people through ibogaine, ayahuasca, all psychedelics, addiction recovery processes, we and ourselves, like as we were transforming ourselves and really observing that process, we learned a lot about the human experience that we all know, that we all agree upon, and just universals about being human and suffering and transforming that. And so we wrote it from direct experience. So it's a brand new textbook. It's not been written before. It's not other people's stuff. Of course, I quote people through it that is, cited, but the material is going to just feel very practical. It's just going to feel very practical, like, yes. And also it's going to invite you to think for yourself about these subject matters, right? So we're going to share our impressions of things and what we've learned, but it's also going to invite you to do the same, to think, I've been through that. My sibling was through that, my spouse, my neighbor, my best friend growing up. And we just start to look at the human experience through our own eyes, instead of always going to the experts and saying, well, what do they think OCD is? What do they think bipolar is? It's like, let's just throw that out the window and say, well, what do we observe directly? And so the training is just written in a very unique way. And I'm very excited to see what you guys think about it. We will be processing it each week at each lecture. So in addition to running the company, I stopped coaching a long time ago. I just got real busy, so I don't coach as much anymore, but I do mentoring and advisement for other companies, a lot of startup ketamine clinics, startup psychedelic clinics. I've done some advising for the MAHA group that's forming Make America Healthy Again. They're talking about legalizing psychedelics, and it's like you kind of think it's going to happen someday, and then you don't, and then you do, and then you're like, wait, I think it's happening. And so I've just done some advisement on different levels, and I have high hopes. I think that a lot can come from this. I think that mental health and addiction recovery and veteran affairs and all these different industries will be optimized. And I think they'll be gutted as well. I think that just like I'm saying that we're going to kind of like break down and build ourselves up to these powerful coaches, I think the industries are going to be doing the same. I think it is going to be a little bit rocky. And I see a lot of fear out there too of like, oh, what's happening? But I think things are going to break down and they're going to rebuild up again. And my vision for coaching is that with coaches, we can raise the standard higher than any other profession. We have that ability. We're not governed by anything but laws and hopefully morals and ethics, but we can raise that standard of service and compassion and care and genuine sincerity to help humanity reverse epidemics and truly hold our clients accountable to do the work that they need to do, and in an empowering and enlightening and just hopeful and optimistic way. I think healthcare is so dim. And when I was there, I just didn't feel excited. I didn't feel like the clients were excited. It just kind of felt like hopeless. I have a lot of stories about that. And that was just my experience. But I feel like with coaching, we can make all of it fun. And also, we act as a accountability to the other industries, because when they see coaches coming up just crushing it, then they're kind of like, oh my gosh, why are all my clients going to hire coaches right now? And it's like, well, because they're looking for a new model. They're looking for a model that works, and clients want to be challenged to be all they can be. They don't want to be told that they're perfect as they are and that they just need to sit back and take a medication and hope for the best. Like, they know they can be more. They want to do more. And I think that there's a reason a lot of the therapists are training to be coaches right now, because it's just an effective model. All right, so there's my intro there. Let's get into the significance of preparation now. Preparation is significant for many reasons. Anybody want to take a stab at it? Why is preparing for anything important? Preparing for change, preparing for transformation, preparing for learning, training. Why is preparation important? Anybody want to share? Okay, great. Thomas, you go first, and then John, I think you came off your microphone.
The preparation's important because, well, often for a task, there are going to be simple things that are going to need to be done before the important things get done. So, if I want to build something, I'm going to need to clear out the room first. And if I wait till the day of, then I'm going to spend half my time with, the team I brought together, and we're just going to be cleaning my room, right? Uh, so there's that. And then there's mentally, if there's something challenging, then just by taking an hour to be thinking about what I'm going to doing mentally preparing, then I'm actually going through the equivalent of a lot of that work. That's the simple stuff I already knew. It's kind of taking care of everything I already knew I needed to do.
Yep, I love it. I think of that as like readiness and strategizing, right? You're coming in, you're ready, and you have a good strategy. And so you're going to be more productive. You're going to get more out of it. And you're not going to be taken down by those early messes, I guess, that would need to be cleaned up. Robert, what do you think?
Oh, this is great. Yeah, I think especially around transformation, it's important to kind of get in our heads around what we're prepared to do. Like, we can insert like a sports analogy here, right? It's like we want to visualize where we're going. And very often, in my experience, when I'm moving into some change, I kind of have a tendency to jump in without thinking about it, not really thinking about the outcomes. So really, I want to see what the destination is, not the activity. Walking there is important, but where am I going? And really getting your head in that space is something I find valuable.
Yep. Yep, exactly. I agree. Yeah, we want to know what we're here for, where we're going, and why it's important. And just start to get those muscles moving, right? Whether it's the brain muscles, the cognitive muscles, physical muscles. Anybody else? Did I see someone else come off mute? Maria, hi. There.
I get Maria all the time. Hi. I think preparation is extremely important. It also gets to set your expectations. So you're prepared to not, well, I noticed that even preparing for this, things are starting to already come up. And so I think being aligned in spirit is already starting to guide us to the preparation to set our expectations aligned with what will be eventually coming. So, like I think it was Robert planning, packing for a trip. You're setting your clothes out, you're getting ready to align your expectations properly for where your soul is at this specific time. So that's how I feel, preparation is so important, to just start to lay out start to lay things out to meet your expectations at this specific time. Thank you.
Yep. Agreed. I'll speak to that, and that speaks to some of what's in the chat box as well. To get yourself prepared for the emotional experience, that's a big one we're going to be talking about. To clear away distractions, to be fully present and equip yourself with the necessary tools, yes, to hone your focus, and to protect ourselves, right? To remove the likelihood of harm. All good stuff. Ryan, what would you like to add?
Yeah, I'll kind of expand upon what I said in the chat. I mean, I know with any psychedelic, there is the potential that there will be feelings that will come up, and knowing that when that happens, that it's normal. So knowing that both the good and the bad are going to happen, and setting the intentions and allowing those expectations, it prevents the kind of spiral if you're having an out-of-body experience, or if you're having an experience that you did not necessarily expect. But when you set the intentions, when you kind of have an awareness that you might have a wonderful experience, you might have a difficult experience, it kind of removes that, or it lessens the likelihood that that spiral is going to happen.
Yes. Oh, I see. That was your comment in the chat box. Agreed. Yep. Yeah, we have seen this training do a lot of deep depth work with people, and if you're not prepared, then yeah, it can be heavy. But if we go into it saying, "Okay, I'm ready. I'm a yes," right? Like when we prepare for psychedelics and we're like, "I'm a yes to everything that happens, whether it's hard, whether it's smooth, whether it's heavy, whether it's scary, whether it's dark, whether it's light, whether I get nothing, whether I get something, I'm a yes," right? And so when we do that and we go into the experience, we're just open to receive what that experience has to give us versus having all these expectations. So I can speak to that really quickly. You have expectations and you have intentions, and this is something that comes up a lot in this kind of work because we think, well, it can be helpful to have intentions to get our mind right, like Robert you were saying and Thomas you were saying. We start to clarify why this is important to me, why I'm doing this, what I want to get out of it. When we have those reasons why, like what's my need, what's my value, what's my goal, what's important to me, that's the strength that gets us through any experience. Because when it gets hard, we can just go back to why we're doing it. And we could say, oh yeah, I'm doing this for growth. I'm doing this because I want to work through some of that really deep, painful stuff, that interpersonal stuff that really hurts because I'm going to be helping my clients work through it. So when I hit those moments, instead of shutting down and giving up, that's my time to press through because I want to know what that feels like to get to the other side of it because that's exactly what I'm going to be helping to guide clients through. So the intention behind it can give us strength, it can give us clarity, it can also help us recognize our work in real time. And I think it can help us just learn on more levels, right? Like kind of the level that you come into a training is how much you're going to get through the training. There's a lot that we're going to be teaching. And it's like when you have those intentions and you kind of open your awareness to be present, you'll probably catch more of the training than otherwise if you have a lot of distractiveness. The downside of intentions is the expectations that you're talking about. The expectations can create disappointment if we have an attachment to a particular thing. So if we have an attachment to this or that, and then it shows up differently, then the judgments come in, the disappointments come in, the bitterness can come in, and it can really shut us down and prevent us from building up our confidence and our competence in the areas that we want. So as when you're preparing somebody for a psychedelic experience or any kind of transformational experience, or even this, we're letting go of expectations and we're opening ourselves up to just the experience, but we have our intentions in the back of our mind of what we're hoping to get out of this. Some other things that support transformation is just that you can prepare yourself mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, relationally, and environmentally. So there's a lot of different levels of preparation to consider. These are things we do a lot of work around at Being True to You with our clients is the preparation phase. And so mentally, that could mean well, let's just hear from you guys really quickly. What would mental prep look like? Like, what would be an example of I'm mentally preparing for some transformational experience or learning experience? What do I need to do with my mind?
need to open up your mind, be willing to see things from a new perspective. That was me.
Yes, I didn't see where that came from. Agreed. Yes, being willing to see things from a new perspective, especially when we're stepping into a learning environment. That's great. Yep. What else?
Grounding.
Mhm. Yep. Yeah, agreed. I like what you're putting in the chat box. Meditate, clear your mind, be open to whatever comes up, let go of expectations. I think the meditation piece is really big, and just the focus piece, yes. And things that support our mental prep would be getting rid of distractions. So whatever distractions, and this would get into environmental prep as well. So have your desk at home, wherever that is, and to the best of your ability, we all have dogs and some people have kids, and there's some distractions, but it's like if you can create that environment for learning. Maybe it means turning your cell phone off for 1 hour, making sure your social media pages are closed down. Maybe that means fulfilling some important tasks before the class starts. Maybe it's like, I really need to pay that bill. If I don't, it's going to be on my mind the whole time. They keep calling me. So it could be being proactive and taking care of tasks and getting things off of your plate, or it could be mentally settling things. Like sometimes you could just write out a to-do list of everything you have to do, and then you can focus because it's like, I know everything I have to do. I have it written down right here. I don't need to stress about it or think about it. I'm just going to do 1 hour. Sometimes I even like look at my watch and I'll say, okay, 1 hour of focused attention. I'm not going to get distracted by anything else. And I'm just going to focus on this one thing. It's easy. Like for me, it's really easy to multitask. I could be on screen and checking several different platforms at the same time and paying bills and baby shopping on Amazon. And then at the end, I realized like, I didn't really catch the meeting. Yeah, right. So we have to watch ourselves there. So mental prep, it can also go into limiting beliefs, right? Like there's a lot of limiting beliefs of like, what am I thinking? Am I actually going to be able to be a coach? Is anybody actually going to want to work with me? Will I really be able to figure this out through this training program? Or any other thoughts like that can be self-defeating. I can tell you everybody can be a successful coach because there is a demographic of people waiting for every single person to go out and help them. I've seen it. I believe it. I've seen every kind of coach come through our program and be successful. So we're going to help work through those limiting beliefs. And sometimes it's just speaking those, out loud to your spouse or to yourself, or in class when you get a chance of just saying, I have this, incessant thought that keeps telling me that I'm not good enough, or I'm not going to be able to do this, or I'm not going to have time for this, or whatever it is. So part of it is just combating those thoughts. It's like that inner mental battle that we go through. And so that's part of it. And I think that's where we go to the meditative clearing, is to just clear that stuff out and recognize it when it comes up. And then I think brain focus is another part of prep, just getting your brain strengthened. So someone said being in nature. Yep, being in nature, hydrating, eating good foods, eating focus foods, not foods that are going to drain you. I think we all kind of know the difference there. And just protecting what we put in our mind in general. So mental focus is a big one. So if everyone wants to like write down in your notes, just for yourself, like what are one thing that you need to do to prepare your mind that you think would be really, really good for your mind and brain to get the most out of this course? Is it settling a dispute in home that's always taking your attention? Is it taking care of something at home that's broke and it keeps dripping or making noise and it's driving you crazy? Like, is it a limiting belief? Is it a fear? Whatever it is, like think of that one thing that tends to suck up a lot of your mental focus and just say like, what's that one action step I can take to be really mentally present for this? That kind of goes into brain health as well. So however you want to write your action step. Then we have physical prep. How could physical prep be related to an online educational training course? Yep, we have in the chat, when the body gets stagnant, the brain gets stinky. Yep. It's so true. The brain and the gut are one, and when the body is tired and fatigued, then the mind is tired and fatigued. So write down something now. What is one thing you can do to support your physical body to stay energized and to stay in your body, right? Like sometimes when we get triggered or moved, we do go into fight, flight, or freeze. How can we recognize that? How can we support our body through this process? I definitely agree with good sleep, sobriety, eating well, managing whatever it is that we do during our days so that we can feel our best, exercise, yoga, meditation, yeah, all these things, just deep breathing. I mean, when I started being true to you, I actually didn't know how to like center and ground myself. Like that really wasn't like something that I ever learned as a counselor. And it was the other instructors that came in and did a lot of the somatic work. I was always like a very cognitive coach, like all the way. Everything was mind for me. And so, like body awareness, I was like, what? I never thought of that. And so, I think that's really huge, just the body awareness piece, like just like understanding what our body needs and understanding when we need to soothe our body and come back into our body. And that was when I realized like how often I've lived my life halfway disembodied, anxious or stressed or excited or whatever it was, that I just like wasn't in my body. So we're going to do a lot of body work through this training now, thanks to all our instructors and coaches that have come in and really taught the community about this. So you have mental prep and brain prep, you have physical prep, you have emotional prep. This is a bigger one when it comes to our, oh, Marla, I see now. It's not Maria. Okay, I was going to ask you how to say your name. Got it, Marla. Okay, I see now. Um, Emotional prep is a totally different category, and I would say is really important with this line of work in general. The training, coaching, just speaking out at all in today's society is getting a little bit tougher. So, what can we do to support ourselves emotionally? I don't have any particular answer in mind. So, does anybody want to just like kind of speak to what you do or what comes to mind?
I think community is really, really important. Having a safe place where we can go and share and be seen and heard. Essentially what I think we're trying to all create if we're here. And so just having a place where we can feel safe to be able to express.
I don't know that I would have thought of that. That is a really good answer. Yeah, thank you, Emily. I think community is huge. Yeah, I'm like reflecting on that in real time of when we go through things, having the empathy, compassion, and support and non-judgment from each other and having the shared experience is really important. And so that's something we'll be creating between today and orientation next Wednesday, and the meet and greet, especially next Friday. We'll be dropping in together and just creating that safe space for us to be where we are and know that everyone is welcome in this group. And we know our emotions are going to be excited at times and maybe moved at times. So, something that we want to do is to come into this knowing that and I guess just leaning into the discomfort of it and seeing what it has to teach us. Ryan, what would you like to add for emotional prep?
I was also going to say community and a great therapist. Cannot
Mm.
recommend cannot recommend a great therapist enough.
Mm. I love that. I agree. That's what we do, is one-on-one support. So having a community talk to and support you and having an individual, we will be pairing you guys off eventually into groups, but sometimes people develop little buddy systems even earlier in the training. Then you have someone to talk to about things. So something to keep in mind. Look at the chat box here. Community is very important. Creating a space where we can express our experiences freely, agreed. And then opening ourselves up to receive reflection or reflecting ourselves. Yeah, and then being mindful what we're sharing and who we're sharing with, right? Like sometimes people can't support things. And I'm telling you, the clients figure that out really quickly too. They learn quickly what they can share and what they can't share. When we check in with clients, sometimes they'll say, oh, I talked to my coach about all that, but oh no, I don't talk to him about this stuff over here. So they learn really quickly what kind of like your container and what you can hold. And so that's something we're going to be looking at in our group too, is how big is our container to hold each other? Can we hold all of each other or can we just hold a little bit? It's a professional environment, so we're going to have to like, keep it reined in a little bit, but also we want to see what is our capacity to hold each other and to hold emotion, and what's our capacity for our own emotion. So I like that. Just being aware of that, right? Like, don't open up sensitive, traumatic things if the group is not ready for it, if the space is not there, and if people can't hold that, right? So we also have to have discernment in terms of what we unleash. Focusing on positive talk. I'm just reading the chat box here. This is great. Being mindful and cognizant of breath. Absolutely. I think emotion is an energy. Think about it. It's an energy in motion, right? Like that's what emotion is, energy in motion. And so when we breathe and we become aware of it, we can kind of allow it to pass through our body. If we start dwelling on it, it gets stuck in our body and has more of an impact. Setting aside distractions. Yes. Accepting emotional neediness and emptiness and letting go of the need to have everything already resolved. Wow, love it. Thomas, very good. That makes a lot of sense to me. Lessons I've learned in my life that it doesn't have to be perfect all the time. Like we just don't have to always feel emotionally centered and 100% perfect. Like sometimes we might just be feeling a little bit off and just creating space for that. Journaling, creative space to let emotions out. Music, so good. Music, so helpful. Body scans, parts and shadow work. Absolutely. We'll be getting into this. Giving grace with yourself and a lot of self-love. I love that, Val, and thank you, Mandy. That is very good. It helps me sometimes when I'm going through something and someone tells me, like, just give yourself a break. Just be easy on yourself. It's like I forgot. I'm like, oh yeah, like I could do that. So I think those kinds of things are very helpful. Yep, snuggle sesh with the puppy, or for me, it's cats. Very good stuff. So I think just bringing some awareness to that is good. Then quickly, I'll just touch on like environmental prep is obvious, just getting your space ready to go, having a glass of water, having your glasses, having your pen and paper, having your handout in front of you. When you're communicating off Zoom, sometimes people get nervous. I think everyone's a little bit more used to it now than some years back, but it can help to just take notes. Like I take notes a lot on what I want to say. So when I come off microphone, I just have notes in front of me so I don't forget what I'm saying. Sometimes people are just like, I forgot what I was going to say, which is okay too. But it can help just to like take a couple notes in front of you. It helps to be concise when we come off the microphone. And then just anything else in your immediate environment that would be helpful to you. That would be environmental prep. And then spiritual prep, I think, is a mix of what we've been talking about. I would say that spiritual prep is just getting clear on your core values and your reason for joining this training, meditating, clearing the space, seeing the bigger picture, leaning into the challenges, accepting, however the process unfolds. Any quick comments on spiritual prep that anybody wants to add?
I did want to say, like asking not for permission, but allowing yourself to let your spirit guide you through the process, and like making sure that you're clearing that space and being emotionally prepared to receive everything the way it's intended, whether it feels good or bad. So, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I think that um, I think that this whole process is a spiritual process, with the transformational process for me is a spiritual process. And I think with a lot of our clients it is. And so there is that understanding of something higher than ourselves guiding us. And the hardest, toughest things we've been through, usually we see the blessing and the silver lining on the other side. So having that, I guess, faith that there is a bigger purpose to each thing, and where we are most likely to get snagged as a coach, we want those pieces to come out, right? So if we're really brave, we say, please highlight my shortcomings through this training. Doesn't mean it has to be publicly in front of the group. It just means like to ourselves, right? And so I think just saying like, please show me my blind spots in how I help people. Like we all know, talking to people, we can see their blind spots, right? It's really easy. People talk too quiet, or they talk too loud, they talk too much about themselves, they're obsessed about this or obsessed about that, they're stuttering, they're, we can all see each other's blind spots in terms of how we support each other, how we communicate, and we don't often see those things ourselves until you become a coach. And so I think, yeah, trusting that that spirit is leading and that what comes up is meant to come up to help us grow. So very good. And I would just add whatever your spiritual practice is to start to sink into that, ask, what is my spiritual practice? What is my faith? What is the activities or the principles that make up my practice? How can that guide me through this experience? And I don't just mean the 6 months of training with us. I mean the next several months and years of building your practice, whether it's as a coach, a social worker, a sitter, a facilitator. Like we have a lot of different helping professionals that come through this training. But what is that spiritual practice that really guides you? Because that is where the deepest level of embodiment comes from, I would say, is our spiritual practice, right? And it's a little different for everyone. Moving into intentions now. With intentions, it's okay if you don't have any intentions, and it's okay if you do. So I don't think that there's any big obligation there. But if we want to just take a minute, all of us, or maybe in front of you, just write down 1 to 2 or 3 things that led you to join this training. And if somebody wants to share those, you can here in a minute. But I think there's the initial reasons that we're motivated to do things, and then there's the underlying reasons. So sometimes you do have to close your eyes and just get quiet with yourself, something you can do tonight or this week, and just say, what did bring me to this training? Why am I doing this? Ultimately, what's in store for me? What do I hope to get? What need do you need to satisfy? Like what needs to happen through this training? Is it building a livelihood on the other side? Is it building confidence? Is it solidifying your own transformation? Is it accountability to put yourself out there and see what potential you have to help people? Is it to figure out what kind of people you want to help who are going through what kind of condition? Is there a particular demographic that you want to serve? Just start to think about that in your mind. In the meet and greet next Friday, everyone will get a chance to share those with the group, a very short, everyone will get a 1 minute 60-second to a 90-second introduction next Friday, and I'll be asking everyone to share your name, where you're from, what brought you here, and something unique about yourself. So those will be the 4 things we'll speak to next week. And so that's something to think about is, what is my intention? And then once we start to tune into, okay, here's my aspiration for the training, here's my aim, here's what I'm hoping for. Again, we're not like attached to it, but we're just starting to bring that forth because we want to know our why. We want to know, why are we doing this? Because it's a lot of work. Like we're going to go through a lot of lectures, a lot of processing, some coursework, some experiential workshops. You're giving 6 months of your life to training. So why is this important? Again, that's going to be your pillars of strength through this, is just always bringing it back to why you're doing it and why this is important. It'll be a little different for each person. And then you can write those down if you want. You can review those often or not. It doesn't really matter. Some people like to review their intentions often and write them in positive terms and write them in the end result, what you're hoping to achieve in the end, in the bigger picture. Sometimes it's what you don't want anymore, and you can mention that too, as long as you mention like what you want to replace it with. So we want to know that why. The second part of that, if you want to take notes on this, is, okay, I have my why, right? I just named a bunch of examples of, building confidence, building competence, building skillfulness, building the ethics, understanding how to support someone, the do's and don'ts, what is coaching, what's not coaching, how's coaching different than therapy or peer support or mentoring. There's all different kinds of things you'll learn in the program. But once you identify what you want, I want to find my niche, I want to figure out what my talents, what my strengths are. The next thing that we want to do is we want to identify what do I need to do to align with those intentions. So write that down as well. What do I need to do to align with those intentions? If my intention is I want to be the best coach in the whole world and I want to learn everything I can in this training, I want to absorb every single thing that Deanne teaches, that John teaches, that Elaine teaches, that Marissa teaches, like every single thing I want to know, and I don't want to miss skip a beat. That'd be really hard, by the way. But what would you have to do to make that possible, right? Or if you think, I just want to practice being in community. I just want to practice being in community and practice like interpersonal connection and collaboration, expressing myself. What would you have to do to achieve the result you're looking for? And again, is it more of a mental prep, emotional prep, physical prep? Is it more of a participation thing? I need to be out on video. I need to be coming off mute. I need to be writing in the chat box. Is it a listening thing? Like in order for me to reach my goal, I need to listen better. I talk a lot. I need to learn how to listen. So just start to think about that. I have my intention. It's tied with my needs, values, and goals. And then what do I need to do to make that possible? Anybody clear enough that you want to share with the group? No pressure. Just want to give that opportunity.
So there's this, hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
So there's this Japanese word that came to mind. I don't know how to say it, but it basically means like reason for being, right? And I think that's just for me, is continuing that. When I took iBeguine, I kind of made this commitment to help humanity, and I want to be the best I can be at that.
Oh, is that the word, Jen?
Yeah, that's the one. I know exactly what you're talking about. I love that word.
Is that the same one, Colin, in the chat box?
Yes, that's the one.
Who knows how to say it?
I'm not sure. I think it's Ikigai. I'm not sure if I'm doing the accent right there.
Okay. I wasn't even going to try, but good. I
Google
love
will
that.
usually read it.
I think it speaks to the essence, Colin, of what we do here at Being True to You. A lot of our other companies, their focus is healing trauma and healing from suffering. And for us, we're like, that's just the first step, right? We didn't come to this world to heal. Like we came because we had a purpose, whatever that purpose for being is. And so I think that's the core essence of Being True to You is we're not just helping people to heal from trauma. We're really helping them to tune into what does it mean to be a human being, not just a human lost in the material world, but like a human being. What does that mean? And how will we know if we're fulfilling our true purpose or vow for this life? Like what pledge did we take to come here? If we are spiritual beings, probably there was some kind of purpose or pledge. That's what I think about. Was like, what was my pledge? What was I supposed to do? And so I love that. I love that. Just being with the process to see what the potential is that we can bring forth to a world that needs supporters. Not necessarily more hospitals and more doctors and more medical professionals, but like just people supporting the human experience as it sits with no labels. Oh, Emily, just seeing what you wrote. Okay, about intentions. I was just saying you have your intention, it aligns with needs, goals, values. And then what do we have to do to make that possible? Because we can give the training and the instruction, but it's up to you guys to absorb it, practice it, integrate it, apply it, talk with each other, right? So it's all in terms of how much you can absorb. And so what do you have to do to actually get the result that you want? And so that's just something to think. It's going to be different for everyone. For some people, it's going to be I need to read slower and better. Some people I need to listen more. Some people I need to talk more. Some people I need to just be still more. Some, I mean, it's just a little bit different for everyone what we're practicing. When we communicate with each other, just humans in general, when we communicate, we all have strengths and weaknesses. Mine is talking, not listening. It's always been my issue. So for me, listening is really important, and just hearing what is being said and what's being said between the words, things that aren't being said, like just really focusing, quieting my mind. That's really hard for me. I'm always like thinking, talking, right? And so it's a little bit different for someone else. They're the listener, like my sister. The listener catches everything. And then for her, it's expressing herself, speaking up, talking, right? So that's why we just kind of want to tune into our individual goals and our individual strategies to reach those goals. Okay, now that we're at the top of the hour, let's just move to open comments and in Q&A. If anybody wants to share your intention and something that you feel that you need to work on to reach that intention, please do. Or if there's any questions or comments, go ahead and bring them in now. So the handouts are all going to come through the classroom. The classroom we use is Thinkific. Margaret, who's on the call, is in charge of all the logistics behind the scenes. So she's the one that will be sending your emails out. She has everything super dialed in. She's been with us many years and done many cohorts with us. And she'll be sending that email out next week. Margaret, what day does it come out? Does it come out on Friday? Or you probably have more than one email coming out.
Deanne, which email was it exactly?
The email that gives them access to Thinkific.
Oh, that email comes out on, hold on a minute.
7th.
On March 7th.
Okay, great. So that'll be, yeah, that's Friday, right?
Yeah, Friday, March 7th. Yeah.
Okay, so Friday, March 7th. So what we'll do is we'll give you access to the classroom. You're going to have access each week. You'll get access to 2 of the lectures. So you'll have access to them before they play. We're going to play them on Mondays and Wednesdays, the lectures. We have an AM and PM session. You can join either one, and you're going to get access to those beforehand. So if you want to listen to the class beforehand, you can. They're very comprehensive. So some people do like to give them a listen and then they come and listen to them live again with the class. You're going to get more out of it. And some people don't have that time. That's fine. So most people, I'd say 95% of people are just going to show up at the time that class is, and we're all going to listen to the lectures together, and we're all going to move into the discussion together. And then the handout can be downloaded from Thinkific. So they're going to come with each lecture. You're going to see the audio, the handout, and the coursework all in the same place for each lecture. So those will be coming out next Friday. Rachel, good question. And your emails, everything is going to be dialed in there. It's going to be spelled out really clearly. So if you just take the time, that'll be another part of preparation. Sometimes people don't read the email and they start panicking and they start calling us like, I can't find this, where's that? And that's a kind of a stressful way to start. So if you see the email and you just read through the whole thing, you're going to feel super in the know, up to speed, know everything that's going on, when it's happening, where the wiggle room is, the flexibility. It's just going to be all spelled out. And still there'll be questions, and that's fine. You can reach out to Margaret, or we have some mentors supporting the training as well. You can reach out to them for any questions. Yes, the audio lectures are all audio. They're not video. So that's really great because when you're listening to the audio, we're off video. So it's a 2-hour audio approximately, and we're off video. So that way you can be doing yoga, cleaning your house, sitting at your desk, taking notes, driving, whichever. But you'll have you'll just be able to listen on audio, and then the discussion will be 1 hour. That's when we all come to video. So you don't need to be on video for that 3-hour segment, which is nice. Makes it easier to absorb. Other questions? All right, everyone. Well, it's just a pleasure to meet you. I recognize a few faces, but for most of you, I'm just seeing you and meeting you. I'm really looking forward to our meet and greet next Friday, where everyone will get to introduce themselves. Our team will be introducing ourselves on Wednesday in orientation. And then on Friday, all of you guys will be introducing yourselves. We'll probably give 60 to 90 seconds per introduction. We'll all join the same one, and I'm really looking forward to that. I would just love to hear where you guys come from, how you heard about the training, again, what your intention is, what you're hoping to get out of the training. The instructors will be present, they'll be listening, and that's helpful for us if we can really dial in what the themes are of this semester in terms of what everyone's wanting to work on. And and so, yeah, looking forward to that. If anyone wants to drop off, you may. I see one more question in the printed out version. Jennifer, you can get with Margaret or Jen, and I will get an answer to them on that. You guys can print them right from your computer or send the PDFs right to your print store. If you go through me, it just costs a lot more for us to do that. So I will type up the answer to that. And so just reach out to Margaret and Jen, and we'll tell you the easiest way to do that. Yeah. What you don't want to do, to be honest, is like start printing from your home printer, because it's a lot of pages. That's why I show you how many pages it is, because people, the first lecture, they're like, oh, okay, I'll print this, and they print it from home, and then before you know it, it's just like it's a lot of printing. The problem is they come out, the week you do it, so it's hard to print them in advance. But we'll give some options there. We'll just kind of talk to you guys on an individual basis if you want that. Yeah. In the future, we'd like to maybe find a better way to do that. It's just we try to keep the price really low. Yes. Yes, Thomas. It's all in color. So if you print it in black and white, I'm like, don't print it in black and white. It's not pretty. It's the whole thing is very, very colorful. Lots of pictures. So I don't know where I set them at, but yeah, there's a lot of pictures in all of them. So they're very pretty. But you'll all have the PDF version, and you'll just want to open that before class so it's in front of you. Are we in a community forum to be in contact with each other? Okay, Margaret answered that. Yeah, so everyone will be connected over Slack. So you guys will be in that forum. So you'll get to, you'll all be connected with each other. And in our community, we allow you guys to message each other directly. I noticed some communities don't allow that. I've tried to message people directly and it's not allowed. I was like, oh, well, in our community, we let you message each other. Sometimes you're like, oh, I'm in the same city, the same state, or, my daughter's going through the same thing, and it's just like nice to be able to message each other. But yeah, everyone will be on Slack, so you guys will get to connect with each other. We also have a Being True to You Facebook group page. So we have our main page if you want to go to Facebook and just like us, the public page, but we also have like a group page where not all of the people that we've certified, we're over 1,000 at this point. Not everyone has a Facebook and not everyone like LinkedIn, but you'll see hundreds of people there. So it's kind of cool because you can see hundreds of people that have been through our training in the past, and you might actually know some people, but go to that page and request to be accepted, and then we'll accept you into the Being True to You Facebook group private page. And that's a place to share resources as well. And sometimes you just want to drop something to a whole community and get some likes on it. You just did a podcast and you're like, oh, I need some likes. You drop it in there and try to get people to support it. Okay, well, we can end on time then. Thank you all for coming to our prep session. Thank you, Jen. That was very quick and fast acting. She put our Facebook and our Instagram in the chat, so you can hop over there, give us a follow, another place to stay in touch, and then we can follow you back as well. Thank you all. Have a beautiful evening. Again, can't wait to meet you guys next week. Really looking forward to this journey with you and just getting to meet all of you. So have a good evening for now, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.
See you next week.